Whoever this one person is, welcome. Oh, nice. 11 people. Cool. Can you guys hear me? Hey, how's it going, everybody? All of you, just want to make sure. Can you hear me? Okay, cool, cool. Sweet, sweet. What's happening, everybody? I guess because we got a decent amount of people in here at this point. If anyone wants to start asking questions, by all means. Just my opinion on anything or whatever, but or it could be other stuff. Um, don't ever cut your beard. Thank you. I think someone had wanted me to do it when we hit 20,000 subscribers, but we'll see. So apparently this UFO report didn't come out, but there's already leaks that it's not gonna be anything like, super crazy. It's basically gonna be we're not ruling out aliens, but we still don't know, from my understanding, and that's why I didn't get my hopes up, right? Let's see here. Just waiting for some more people to come in. The beard makes you look wise. Keep it. Yeah, I plan to. Thanks, observer. I appreciate it. Rich, will Trump be reinstated? I look. Here's the thing about all that. I don't want to say anything because a lot of things that I thought in my head were, nonsense. Many months ago ended up being correct, but there were also a lot of things that didn't end up coming to fruition as well. So, um, oh, Audrey, your husband and I. You said your husband and yourself talked about how it was going to be exactly that. I assume you're referring to the Pentagon report. Yeah, that exactly. That's what I'm saying because oh, by the way, Antonio, my first live, so happy to be here. Oh no, Antonio, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Audrey, you were saying yes, yeah. You see, that's what I'm talking about though with that kind of stuff because people are all excited and I honestly do believe there are in fact different factions that are working within the government to speed up disclosure, and some of them are holding it back. I think there's still a lot of push and pull going on there. The head of NASA today said that he's ordered certain teams of NASA to look into UFOs, but again, as if certain people at NASA don't already know, right? When was the okay? Hold on a second. Aaron Lucas says, when was the pyramid at Area 51 built? Okay, hold on. Um, Well, it depends. If we're going off of Google Earth, that's interesting. So remember something too. If I'm not mistaken, Google Earth was initially CIA. That should tell you more than enough of what's really being controlled there. So things could be altered, as I'm sure many adversaries use, or probably not anymore because they've smartened up, but would use Google Earth for basic surveillance, or just to sort of see what the CIA is broadcasting to the Western world and to Europe and things like that. Because I honestly think they lie about a lot on Google Earth. So as if you're going off of the pyramid being put in Area 51 on the surface on the date of Google Earth, I wouldn't trust that. I think pyramids have been there long before Google Earth started showing it. It's just now things have calmed down a little bit in the mainstream, so they can kind of drop feed a little bit and say, hey, there's something there and whatnot. But let's see here. The Observer says we've been lied to about everything, and I mean everything. The more research I do, Observer, the more I'm coming to see that I used to think it was 40%, 50%. The number just keeps going up, man. It just keeps going up and up and up. Let's see. Cloud Dragon says, "Kick the UFO can 180 days." Yeah, exactly. My thoughts exactly. Madden says, "How can you discern what's misinformation from what is factual?" Um, So there's a great part of the internet, that doesn't mean that it's true. I want to make that clear first and foremost. It's a matter of matching up different, what I call data points, looking for consistency, looking for people, stories, witnesses, documents, files that correspond with one another, even though there's no association to them individually, right? There are certain points that tend to stick out that are like, oh, wait a minute, okay, this might be with this. Now, again, as I say, some of the connections I make, I may in fact be wrong, but a lot of them in the past, there were certain things I said January and February ended up becoming vindicated or legitimate, and that's how I kind of know when I'm on the right path or not. It does. Let me see here. Sorry, hold on. Madden, to answer your question in short form, it takes a lot of time. I mean, it's sort of like a part-time job if you really want to try to decipher what's true and what's not. And even then, still, there's little things that still might be fed in there that's just complete nonsense. Um, let's see here. That's why if you notice too, when I'm doing certain episodes and I'm reading through them, whether it's public or members, they'll always say, okay folks, I don't know about this particular part or this or that, because it's true. I'm not, if I had classified access, it's a very different story. But let's see here. Daniel says, did you see Hybrid Babies on Time magazine? No, I didn't. I don't honestly, Daniel. I appreciate that. I will look into it, but I don't check mainstream stuff that much, except for the Kraken episodes. Audrey says it will be brushed off. Sadly, I assume, Audrey, you're still referring to the UFO report. Yeah, probably. Let's see. Barbette says, I enjoyed the Odin departure. Oh, thank you, Barbette. There's another episode that'll drop probably within the hour after this stream is over, publicly. You want to know more about Valkyries? Well, there's quite a bit there. It depends specifically, right? What category and what area. BZ says, is Bitcoin and crypto a way to start the great reset for digital currency? It's possible. It's possible. Again, there's many different theories about crypto, and not necessarily Bitcoin, but the concept of a decentralized currency, right? And again, it could be so many different things. It could have been started by an intelligence agency or made popular by one. Again, remember, intelligence agents are always looking for information that could be used, exploited, and broadcast to the world in a mainstream way in order to gain more control, right? That could have been one angle of it too. Well, ultimately, the problem is, BZ, is we'll never know. That's the unfortunate thing. Unless there's some act of God, right? Let's see here. Blank space. Hey, how's it going? Madden. Yeah, of course, no problem. Brent says, what about the China nuke warning? I don't know if they're trying to scare their own people, when the CCP said to their own people, listen, prepare for nuclear war with the US, because Biden wanted to look into the Wuhan lab some more. I don't think anything's going to happen with regards to nuclear. I mean, I could be very wrong though, but China, see, they're interesting because we have to remember how much propaganda they push onto the people. Remember, Facebook's not allowed in there, Google's not allowed in there. They have their own versions of it so they can control it. Let's see here. Ariyahu Williams says, Zed, what are your thoughts on China attacking the US this year? Would they be so open of their intentions? Yes and no. It depends what you mean by attack. If you're talking about asymmetrically, from an intelligence perspective, I think they're all attacking one another right now. I don't think that ever really stopped, to tell you the truth. Cyber, I think they're all attacking one another. In terms of straight up launching a nuke or, shooting something down on US territory or Western territory, something behind the scenes must have really happened to piss them off if they do that. Again, I don't know. I'm not an expert in geopolitics up to the minute, but NLJ, I like the studio setup. Oh, thank you. Daniel says, have you heard of Danny Sheehan? I have, but again, I go through so much information almost on a daily basis. It's hard to remember. Sometimes I'll look at something on a web page and I'll see a name and then I'll say, okay, I'll get back to it later. And then I don't end up getting back to it. Let's see here. Cloud Dragon says disinformation equals 90% truth and 10% lies. Lies are the tell of who benefits. Very good point. Very good point. By the way, Daniel, if you're still here in the chat, if you want to fill me in on who Danny Sheehan is, maybe I could expand. But Infinite Gabe says, what do you think of Santos Bonacci? I need to do some more research into Bonacci. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was actually researching Bonacci this morning, so I don't want to say something until I have, you know, all the data that I could gather in front of me. Rich says Flare Network, XRP, XLM, Dogecoin. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The Observer says I'm going to post a link to a picture I took last summer. Sure. Brent, no problem. Let's see. Antonio says, would Biden be a suitable war president? I don't think so. I think it would be his team. And even then, it would be the team that he surrounded himself with. I mean, he's got to know himself he's cognitively declining. I mean, come on, at this point, like, you know, but let's see here. The Observer says lower left below chemtrails. Not sure what you're referring to, Observer. Let's see here. If anyone's got any more questions, by all means, let me know. If not, I'll probably just start. Here we go. Arahu Williams says, what are your thoughts on Trump in that photo in Saudi Arabia when he put his head on that globe? There's talk that he activated a system controlled by AI. I wouldn't rule it out. I know which picture you're talking about, and I don't rule it out because of the fact that the Middle East seems to be more than just oil and, you know, and war-based interest. It seems to be obviously war for the purpose of different things like Stargates and what have you. But I ultimately think that if he activated a system, it's because it was meant to be activated. I feel like it's not that it was just by fluke or by coincidence. He just touched something and then, you know, but I think that if he did activate something, then it was definitely corresponding to what the former space minister of Israel had said too, right? With regards to, you know, Trump wanting to reveal them and then them saying no and things like this. Again, there's some people have pointed out flaws and loopholes in that story, but the Deep Share podcast. Hey, what's going on, brother? Let's see here. 6 Eternal Fear 6. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. BZ says, I think we should turn plastic and aluminum into the new currency. That would be something. Speaking of which, there's going to be on, I think, Sunday's episode, there's going to be some documents that I'm going to be showing publicly and the rest for the members just because of some of the explicitity of some of it. Ethan, regarding piezoelectricity and different propulsion systems. Very interesting. There seems to be much more than one propulsion system that these aliens and humans use. And I also happened to get a video of a reptilian eye slit from different parts of the world, different times, things like that, where these eye slits seem to be caught on camera very quickly. But it's kind of cool. Ethan asks, is Trudeau Fidel Castro's son? I know some people laugh at this, but I don't rule that out. And I'll tell you why. You ever see Castro and Trudeau side by side? I mean, and also at the same time, Trudeau's father, which was Pierre Trudeau, his wife was known to be very promiscuous when they were in Cuba. So, let's see here. Infinite Gabe, thoughts on flat Earth? Initially, no. My perspective can always be changed. Absolutely. I think concave Earth, but I also think if there is some form of a flat Earth, I mean, I know this might sound a little bit weird, but I would imagine some type of mixture of a globe, concave, sort of flat on certain parts. I know that sounds weird, but if I could give you a visual, it would make a lot more sense. Let's see here. Lego says, have you heard of Samuel Hoffman's work in regards to our electrical universe and our twin binary solar system? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to know my thoughts on Samuel Hoffman's work, I think his way, I'm not saying he's correct or wrong. I think his way of thinking is exactly what we need, though, right? And this is exactly the type of problem that's been suppressed within the academic community publicly. I think his thinking, whether he's dead wrong or kind of right, kind of wrong, or completely correct, I think that's the type of thinking we need. Cliff Colta says, have you seen the plasma phenomenon? Yes, I have. Check out Gina Maria Colvin Hill. This is like the holy grail of the internet right now. I've seen the plasma phenomenon, yes, and it's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Raw asks, are you going to post the eye slit thingy on YouTube or Patreon? Sounds interesting. Yeah, I'm going to post it on probably publicly. I'm not sure. Brent says Fidel Castro had a ton of women a day. I didn't know that, but I mean, a lot of these politicians do, whether it's male, female, whatever. Let's see here. Anybody else got any questions or just want to say anything? So we can, I mean, it's still only the first 15 minutes. Usually, I can, there's Lee, by the way, with regards to having him as a guest and all that, there's a lot of people. I don't want to say because sometimes I get a response, sometimes I don't, but there's a lot of people I'm trying to get on the show. So let's see here. Daniel says, Danny Sheehan on UFO Studios made a powerful speech, offered his services for free, and said that we are in a key time of the human race, that the governments should decide or shouldn't decide if they are a threat. Okay, so Daniel, I agree 100%. This is the other thing as well, too, right? The different factions at play. And that's also something that I find to be peculiar because, again, it's almost like the powers that be have corresponded with the US in terms of, the extraterrestrial influence and things like that. Not saying I rule out Russia, China, or any other major country, but these extraterrestrials clearly understand rank and file and things like this. And so when we look, for example, at a guy like Danny Sheehan, he's exactly the type of person, in my opinion, whether he's right or wrong, he's the type of person that really scares those that are trying to keep things covered up. Because when you offer to do something for free, that's when you have a big issue, because it goes back to a basic intelligence apparatus, which is, what do they want? Right. This is why, allegedly the fight on terrorism has been more difficult than normal because, before, in the early days when the CIA was going after mobsters and stuff, was very simple. They wanted money. Right. Terrorists is a little bit different. It's the same idea. What happens when someone doesn't want money? Now, maybe I strayed a bit far from that, but in the case of Danny Sheehan, the guy clearly, I mean, at least he says he doesn't want money. So if he starts producing things, right, that start to prove to be true, successful, and things like that, that would scare a lot of people. Anna Black Moon, thank you for sharing the info. Oh, no problem, Anna. Victor says, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm half draconian and you guys are close to the truth, but a little off, but you guys are in the right direction. Well, Victor, if you are one, then I appreciate the tips. If you're not, then still, thanks for the tips. Let's see. Cody says, hope you're fighting the tyranny in Canada along with Chris Sky. Apparently that guy Chris Sky's on the run, last time I heard, but I don't know. Rasansky X says jump rooms. I'm not sure what you're referring to when you say jump rooms, Rasansky. Let's see. The Observer says, so fill us in regarding. You're talking to Victor Juarez. Okay. Wolfie says, y'all ready for them ALMA. Blank Space says, just an observation, but the TV in the background's a little off center. It should be put down like 4 to 5 inches more, so that way the border's not showing. Oh yeah, Blank Space, I appreciate that. That's just because I'm using the webcam right now. I usually don't. I won't be using the webcam for much longer. Let's see. Drew says, governments around the world have been building domes for decades. We know about ancient underground cave dwellings and systems built by ancient peoples. Was that to survive ice ages and cataclysms? I think for a little bit of everything. I think a lot of it was to survive natural disasters. I think a lot of it was to go into hiding purposefully, maybe for a bit of both. I also think a lot of it too was extraterrestrial, that showed certain groups of humans, not all humans, if you will. Speaking of which, I actually got a question for all of you, if you're interested. Did you hear about this supposedly uncovered alien coin in Egypt? But it was an archaeological dig. They tried to disprove it, and then the story disappeared from the mainstream. Maybe it's nothing, but this is something I've been hearing about the last couple weeks. Let's see here. Sub-Zero says, have there been any Ghislaine Maxwell updates? It seems it never gets covered. There haven't been, from my understanding, and the reason I would assume it doesn't get covered is because both sides of the political aisle and of other, areas of the world, let's call it, and industry, don't want it to come out because it's past politics at that point. She has or had dirt on a lot of people. If you watch the members episode from this past Monday, you'll see that ABC and Disney, I got to be careful here saying this publicly, covered some things up as far back as 2016, before Epstein was arrested for the second and final time and all that. Let's see here. Oh, Victor says, I just want to say I love the channel. I'm new to the channel. This information is awesome to hear this stuff. Thank you guys very much. No, Victor, thank you. Let's see. Jason says Sheehan deserves respect. Brent says Victor, listening Victor. Brent says assault. Let me see. The Observer says you can go to LA to NT underground. I guess you mean LA to New York. I believe that. I wanted to say something. I can't publicly, but let's see. Ariahu Williams says, what in your opinion does a world look like completely controlled by artificial intelligence? You mean our AI or extraterrestrial AI? Because it really depends. If it's ET AI, I think it's so good we won't even know the difference. You could have a being of sorts standing right there, and it'll behave maybe even better than we behave in terms of the definition of the way it interprets that. If you're talking about our AI, scary because it's uncontrolled. Obviously not as powerful from what I understand relative to what these extraterrestrials have, but let's see here. Hold on. Sorry guys, the chat jumped a little bit. Blue America says, I'm new to the live stream. Well, welcome. I've been watching your videos for a while, saw your Rumors of Instinct podcast. Just want to ask, what's your opinion on everything he said? Do you also believe Corey Good? I'll tell you, well, first off, Blue Americas, thank you for jumping in. I'll tell you right off the bat, do I believe Corey Good? I used to believe him much more before than I do now, which is why, if you notice, I tend to cite him a little bit less. It's just a preference. I think that at this point, it's a little bit more for the money than anything else. With that being said, too, at the same time, I think he's saying things that are principally and fundamentally true, but in terms of his little stories of expansions, in my humble opinion, I think they're made up. Now, if I'm wrong, I'd be more than happy to say, listen, I fucked up and whatever, but let's see. What else did you ask? What's your opinion on everything Rumors have said? I believe him. I believe him personally. And the more I do research, the more he doesn't even say anything to me. Sometimes we won't talk for a couple weeks, and then I'll find something that's bang on with something he said to me 5-6 months ago. Now, again, sometimes people just so happen to be correct. I understand that, but some things are so precise, it's almost, and then he'll expand on that when I say, hey, dude, you were right about this. And then, a handful of weeks or months later, he's right about that thing too. So again, I'm going with the consistency. And there's also a lot of things, by the way, that I've asked him and he'll tell me straight up, Dave, I don't have the answer. It didn't happen when I was in the secret space program, so I don't want to say. And I respect that, right? Can I screen share? You have an article or photo of that coin. I have to see if I can, dude. I'll let you know. Thank you, though. Rich asks, is Epstein alive? By the way, Camden, I'm toying with it, just so you know. Rich says, is Epstein alive? I don't think so. I think there were many different angles, and having him murdered was just much easier. Let's see. Drew Phillips says, Elon Musk putting all his efforts into getting humanity to Mars or digging underground tunnels. What is he preparing for? He knows what's up. Well, you know what's interesting, Drew, about Elon Musk with regards to the Boring project, which is the underground tunnel system? Notice how he announced that a handful of years ago, and then it just disappeared with regards to mainstream media coverage, investors, things like that. Now, yes, you might find a handful of articles that say, well, okay, someone made an investment here or there, but it's not in the limelight the way that SpaceX is. Now, you might be saying, okay, Dave, I know, because he's going to Mars with SpaceX, and the other thing is he's just building tunnels. But keep that in mind. Notice when things go quiet a little quicker than normal. Tend to look at that in the long term. Put that to the side, but don't forget about it. My opinion, at least. Hunter, thank you so much. Let me see. The Observer says Corey Good, PLZ guy, has no signs of PTSD after all that. That's another good point too, observer. Joffrey Lane says, "Do you think aliens are demons and fallen angels? And if there is a dome over the Earth, is space water? And do you believe in solar warden and these submarines in space?" Okay, Joffrey, I appreciate that question. Do I think aliens are demons and or fallen angels? Some of them. Now, I want to be very careful when I say that because aliens, demons and fallen angels and things like that depends at what time period, depends who wrote that. If we're talking about now, for example, if an extraterrestrial were to come down and they're a Nordic, a little bit taller than us, look similar to us, but if you look close, there's enough distinctive features that could be what a couple thousand years ago humans thought of as a fallen angel, if you will. Do I think some of them are in fact very negatively oriented? Absolutely. Do I think some are benevolent and they're just here to chill? Yes. And do I think some are good? Yeah, but not a lot of them. Um, Now, also, you asked a dome over the Earth and multiple energetic domes, Joffrey. I wouldn't say particularly, the some like the Hunger Games type of dome. With that being said, though, I wouldn't rule out some type of energetic dome in various fashions that would stop certain materials or elements, if you will, from leaving the atmosphere of the Earth. Do I think space is Earth is hold on, is space water? I don't think space is water. No. And do I believe in Solar Warden? 1 trillion%. And these submarines in space? Yes, submarines was what they did under the Reagan administration while they were still working on building their own long. What's the term? Long distance interstellar traveling craft. Excuse me. So what they did was they took the concept from the Philadelphia project and they put a bunch of EMF magnets in a particular frequency with a certain element around submarines temporarily, just so they can get into space while they were built to get a head start while they were building the actual craft. That's my that's my understanding of it. Um, let's see. Millowbee Design says it's all still going down. Absolutely. The Observer says, I know what you're going to say, Dave. It's all good. Yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Infinite Gabe says, sorry, guys, the chat jumped. Give me a second. Thank you for your thoughts. Much love from NM. Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming in, Gabe. Let's see. D. Henrik says, I write a lot of poetry. Do you ever read that kind of stuff? Not recently, but I mean, I have. I've found poetry interesting. Let's see here. Ariahu Williams says ETAI. Yeah. Let's see. Blank space. Yes, I meant this should be pushed down 4 or 5 inches more for the videos too. Okay. I see what you're saying. Thank you. I'll take that into consideration. Let's see. Ally Legendaries says, I follow a Turkish archaeological page and they seem to have a lot of towns under towns, like underground towns. Well, yes, the humans have been building underground civilizations, if you will, or structures for a very long time. We also have to keep that in mind as well. Not everything underground is alien, I would say. Also, we have to define that too. If there are beings in Hollow Earth or in within the Earth and they've been around, for God knows how long, are they aliens or are they, Earthlings? Like, what do you call them, right? That's another interesting thing. To be honest, I had this sort of hope in the back of my mind that this was a far fetch, that the UFO Pentagon disclosure was going to say something like these craft are observed from coming underground. So what does this mean? But I knew that that wasn't going to happen. It was a hope though, right? Let's see. Rashansky X asks thoughts on NASA time travel projects. NASA, CIA, CERN, the whole thing. Yes. Yeah. Brent says, sorry, assault. Chris Sky not turning himself in. Chris, turning himself in. Yeah, that's what I've heard. The Observer says, Dave, do you think there will be a false flag soon? If so, what do you think it might be? Okay, so I want to tell you guys this theory, which is pretty interesting, and I bring it up, I think, in the episode that's going to come out later tonight. But I want you all to let me know your thoughts on this in the chat if you want. So think about it like this: if extraterrestrials are so advanced, let's say, right, and they have different capabilities of time travel and transportation and bending time, different dimensions, things like that. The traditional format of an invasion, of a ground war, if you will, sort of like a what's the movie? Independence Day type of style invasion. I don't necessarily see that happening, and I'll tell you why. Why invade a planet of any kind, right? In that way, in such an archaic way relative to the way they think. If you have these time travel mechanisms and you have a much different and broader understanding of time, why not over many thousands of years infiltrate the species on that planet very slowly? But in the aliens time frame, it would only be, X amount of days or however they measure time. But in our time frame, it would be thousands of years relative to the technology they'd be using. An interesting thought. So when you ask Rashansky X about NASA time travel projects and Observer, when you ask about a false flag, that's why I think there may in fact not be a false flag. With that being said, I don't think there's going to be a Project Bluebeam. However, the military, at least in this particular condition and circumstance, will justify any and every reason to expand their budget. There could be 90% of aliens could be good, but the Pentagon will still say that 10%, assuming they reveal aliens to the public, that 10%, we got to increase the budget. So, in terms of a false flag, it depends on which faction does what. And what I mean by that again is, are the different factions in the shadow government. If there's one faction that has enough pull and enough people on their side, if you will, to create a false flag, sort of like a 9/11 style event or something like this, they might do it. Let's see here. Now, we also have to remember, too, it's very possible a lot of these politicians and leaders that are filled in on these things may be influenced or controlled by extraterrestrials. Let's see. Miloby Design says Mowood 9970 videos coming out like crazy. Not sure what you're referring to, but Sub-Zero asks, do you expect the Pentagon report to downplay and misdirect about the UFOs? I think they're going to daddle around it. They're just going to dodge it. They're going to say, well, it's not alien, but we don't know what it is. So again, it's with them, it's all about the wording of it, which is why it pisses me off so much. It's either it's an adversary, it's from space, or it's from underground, or it's from another dimension. To me, it's pretty simple. But I think I don't know about downplaying, but they'll dodge, in my opinion. Madden asks, do you have any information on a supposed temporal war? Many different wars. It depends what you're referring to, Madden, but yes. Let's see. Ally Legendaries J. Sorry for butchering your name. Do you think that Dark Winter is going to come this year because Biden was repeating that last year? I think there are certain terms or words that are placed in politicians' heads in general that tend to make them say things over and over again. With that being said, when Biden said Dark Winter, the problem is that in my opinion, he's so cognitively delayed that I don't know when he says Dark Winter, if that's just a talking point an advisor gave him, or if that actually means something. So do I think Dark Winter is going to come this year? What I can say is this: I have a feeling that the strain of negative events, such as the pandemic and things like that, is not over. But I'm not trying to sound devious or whatever, but I don't think it's over yet, in terms of a different timeline of the way things will unfold. Antonio asks, Dave, we have had anti-gravity since at least 1991. I'm not sure what to say here, but I've seen it. Antonio, if you ever want to reach out to me, genzpodcast@gmail.com. I think we've had, I would even dare to say, respectfully, we've had anti-gravity even way before 91, but let's see here. Daniel says, what do you think of 1954 Eisenhower's visit with aliens at Edwards Air Force Base? My opinion, completely legitimate. I don't mean to sound overly confident. I think so. I also think the deals that he made with these aliens were, again, without knowing, I think they were a grave mistake. But again, I mean, if I was there, I wouldn't know any better either, right? If there's species that much smarter than you, the hell are you going to do? Whether you sign a contract or not. That's my opinion. Let me see. Camden says UFO disclosure is justification for defense spending budget and a materialism-driven worship focus. That's very well worded. Yeah. Ariahu says, how many miles existed below ground level? There must be a lot of miles underneath, considering how much has been built underneath it. Oh, tons. And there's theories that, because of the concave Earth theory, there's different time warps, if you will, where the center of the Earth is larger on the inside than what you'd see on the outside. That's extremely advanced holography and things like that, as are some UFO craft, or alien craft, I should say, have that as well too. So there's a lot. There's much more space than you or I may in fact think. That's in my opinion, at least. Joffrey says, what are your thoughts on Dogman and werewolves and them being seen in Afghanistan? And what are your thoughts on the giants in Afghanistan? Do you believe Thulu is in the Pacific Ocean? I believe something like Thulu is in the Pacific Ocean. My thoughts on Dogman and werewolves and them being seen in Afghanistan. I find it very interesting, Joffrey. Thank you for bringing this up. I find it interesting that a lot of these animals tend to be seen in countries where the mainstream media in the West and in Europe don't report on as much. Now, my thoughts on uh, Dogman and things like that, some of it is the result of experimentation that has been let out into the public either accidentally or on purpose. I also think that in Afghanistan, the giants there are in fact quite, I think they're real. I think there's very few of them left, but I think they are real. Yes. Let's see here. Blue America says, thanks for the clarification. Oh, no problem. I feel I'm a little on Camden's side. However, I know the truth is much stranger than we think. Are you familiar with you/throwaway alien on Reddit? Yes, but it's been a little while. But yes, absolutely. Oh, sorry, it jumped. I think you had asked a question. I'm going back up. Don't worry. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Oh, if so, what's your opinion on that whole conversation? I haven't, like I said, I haven't checked it out recently, but I mean, I like to subscribe to all aspects of things, right? So, let's see here. If you want to, Blue Americas, if you wanted to write something more specific, I'd be more than happy to give you my opinion. Daniel asks, do you think space is more like a plasma? In a certain sense, it's hard to explain. In a certain sense, next time I'm going to get this thing going and try to do some interactive stuff with it, because it would help me actually explain things a little bit better if I could, draw some stuff and look stuff up. Let's see. Camden says, I think of space as more of a plasma than a vacuum that we are told, or the liquid you suggest. Yes, I personally agree. Antonio says, some are good. I'm an abductee and I've had a mole removed from my arm by them, whoever they are, and I got a nice triangle scar to prove it. Also had a failed abduction attempt. Antonio, like I said, if you want to talk, genzpodcast@gmail.com, by all means, please. Let's see here. Sub-Zero, oh, no problem at all. Drew asks, did you see the video of the creature walking across a bridge in India? Yes, I did. What about all this massive UFO video drops that the government confirms? There were many UFOs around a Navy ship off San Diego recently. Yes. So the video of that extraterrestrial or alleged one in India, I do think it is legitimate. However, I would need to see a little bit more up close in order to substantiate that, more just based on the mannerisms and things like that. With that being said, too, the UFO videos, ask the public and society to see where they stand and things like that. But ultimately, when I look at that, I see more of a test than oh, something's coming. I see more those that know what's happening are giving the go ahead through the chain of command to say, okay, the pilots can now go to the news and say what they've seen and things like that. Not that the pilots are in on it, but again, it's slow preparation in my opinion. Let's see here. And those UFOs around the Navy ship in San Diego, yeah, that's pretty intense. Okay, Joffrey says, like the movie Superman, would humans have powers like in the movie John Carter? And have you seen the TV show V on NBC in the 80s? Have you seen Sliders when they introduced interdimensional Nazis? Unfortunately, I haven't, Joffrey. But oh, I see what you're saying. Would the humans have powers like in the movie John Carter? Well, Joffrey, it's interesting you bring that up. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of any type of being or organism having different abilities because of the electromagnetic spectrum on the planets that they reside on, right? So I wouldn't rule it out per se. I mean, science is showing that it's very possible as well. Slowly, obviously, but let me see. Oh, Daniel, no problem. John Doe asks, what is your stance on globe Earth versus flat Earth? Also, are aliens chimeras? I think some of them are chimeras. I think that if the Earth is not a globe, it's a form of concave mixed in with different. It's hard to explain without showing visually, but with a little bit of flat parts. And I know that sounds weird, but if I could get it like a chalkboard, then I would be able to explain it better. Oh, Joffrey, thank you very much. Beefy says, do you think the Freemasons are trying to take over the world and depopulate us before we learn the truth? My humble opinion, no. Do I think that some of the Freemasons at the highest levels have knowledge of a lot of things? Absolutely. Influence? Absolutely. But to take over the world, I think there are, in my opinion, no disrespect, I think there are much more powerful factions at play. Let's see. BZ says, is it true that the electric magnetic field is weakening and making people more crazy? There's a lot of that, BZ, that's been going around. Very possible. Awaken the Flame says, keep up the good work. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. Let's see. But to answer your question a little bit more in detail, BZ, the electromagnetic field, there's tons of them around Earth. So it depends. Sometimes they get stronger, sometimes they weaken. There's quite a bit. Let's see. Sub-Zero Radar asks, does China have more pull than the US with any ETs? I would actually, to be honest with you, Sub-Zero, respectfully, I would flip that. Do ETs have more pull with China or the US? That's the question I would ask. But to answer your question, I don't think so. But at the same time, who knows how many aliens have made agreements with the CCP? How many crashed UFOs occurred in China over the years, right? So Melissa Kelly says, oh, hey, Melissa. Beefy Production says Xi Jinping is a Freemason. Oh, interesting. Joffrey asks, what are your thoughts on human mutilations? Oh, some of them, the ones that are so precise that even our technology cannot get as precise as what these autopsies show, definitely alien, if not military working with aliens. My thoughts on angels and archangels. I think some of it could be real from another dimension. Again, when you talk about things from other potential dimensions, the list is endless. But in terms of in the third dimension on Earth, I think a lot of aliens have been perceived to be angels that had to stay on Earth, or beings that had to stay on Earth, and that was the way they were portrayed down the road, or in the Bible, or in different historical scriptures and texts. Let's see. Ariyahu says, what in your opinion is the end game for CERN? Can they actually bring in beings from other dimensions? I think they already have multiple times over. The end game, there is none. It's just keep exploring. The Six, appreciate your hard work. Oh, thank you. The Observer says, for all we know, the world is already being run by aliens. I don't want to say for certain, but again, I don't rule that kind of stuff out. Let's see. No Sleep asks, sorry, I don't know that last part. So any thoughts on O negative blood type? Yes, RH null, RH negative, those ones tend to be people that are abducted much more often. Let's see. Little Miss Sunshine says everything is about wording and spelling. English is the worst. Look it up. I've actually, Little Miss Sunshine, I've been told this. Yes, I've been told this by a lot of people, and by people that were able to substantiate some of that, if not all of it. Because again, it's the characterization of the languages too that we speak, the energy that we give off when we speak it, when we think it, the meaning to certain words, right? Let's see here. Joffrey asks, angels, your opinion, who is running this planet, the Illuminati or AI or aliens, demons, or Lucifer? And what are your thoughts on Marduk, Enki, and Enlil? Do you think the snake in Eden was a reptilian? Okay, that's Joffrey, brother. That's a lot of questions. I think in terms of who runs the planet, it's not set in stone. I think there are many different entities, beings, factions, interests, agendas. Extraterrestrial, some of it human, but a lot of it not. My thoughts on Enki and Enlil, legit, in my opinion. Do you think the snake in Eden was a reptilian? The problem with those questions, Joffrey, brother, is that they go so far back. I don't know. That's the unfortunate thing. You can do all the research in the world, but when something goes that far back, it's very hard to say. I mean, who can you call up to try to look for the data points or the consistency of those things, right? Let's see here. Ariyahu Williams asks, is the Game of Thrones Winter is Coming a direct reference to Dark Winter? It could be a form of drop feeding. UFO Ken asks, are UFOs extraterrestrial or interdimensional? Both. Some of them both, some of them just interdimensional, some of them just from interstellar craft, planets, things like that. Let me see. Antonio says Dark Winter is a book by Andy McNabb about a virus. Interesting. Let's see. The Observer says, Dave, do you think the black goo could be an evolution accelerator. I think it's a lot of different things. I think it's like what's that? What's that? I think it's called Transformium. That the first Transformers movie with Mark Wahlberg, when like it's like nanobots, but it's like gooey kind of same kind of concept. Um, let me see. Oh, no problem, Antonio. Joffrey says this scamdemic is far from over. It's not over until the elites and other entities say so. It's definitely going to get worse with hacks, etc. A lot of different things. Yes, regarding the pandemic, I got to be careful with what I say on here, but yes, I agree 100%. Alexis says, "Oh no, it was just a reply." The Observer says the Freemasons may be aliens. I wouldn't rule out extraterrestrial influence, to tell you the truth. Let's see here. Oh, hold on. Sorry, everyone. The chat jumped. Give me a second. Someone oh, do you think somewhere on this planet they've RoboCop someone? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's very easy for them to do, in my opinion. Hold on a sec. All right. Hold on. I'm getting there, guys. Sorry. Oh, sorry, Jeffrey. My apologies. I just noticed that. Okay, hold on. Okay, am I Charles Anderson asks, am I able to watch the live later on your channel? Yes. The Observer, humans with no heart sounds alien to me, right? Ravi says, I saw a UFO in the corn. Ravi Come Up says, I saw a UFO in the cornfield behind my house here in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a lot of UFO sightings, Ravi. I certainly believe you. Jeffrey says, what is your opinion on Satan and Lucifer as connected to aliens? Are they connected, and are some angels? Again, we could, so okay, allegedly the Ebens, which is one of the races that President Eisenhower signed the treaty with, the Greada Treaty, they claim that Jesus was a hologram they constructed, but those aliens could be lying too. Don't kid yourself, right? Are they connected, and are some angels? Depends what you mean by connection, right? You're talking about connection through consciousness, through energy, talking about connection through different particular events over time. And if there are demons, why would they need UFOs? And are some UFOs living entities? Well, remember something too. Certain beings from other dimensions may need certain vehicles, if you will, to come into this dimension, because by definition, the third dimension, as we understand it to be, unless we are wrong, is the materialistic dimension, right? So it's complicated. With that being said, there's also a particular episode I did on Patreon where or maybe publicly as well too, where Lou Elizondo said that he was told by his superiors to stop pursuing UFOs because he said to Lou Elizondo, the former head of, I think it was the Pentagon's secret studying of UFOs, and his former, again, just to show you how compartmentalized it is too, even the ones inside don't know what's going on. And he said to Lou Elizondo, have you read your Bible lately? And Lou Elizondo thought he was, at least he claimed, he thought he was about to be threatened, because when someone says that to you, usually they're blackmailing you or they're trying to threaten you. But he said to his superior, he said, no. And he said, why? And he goes, well, we shouldn't be pursuing these craft. They're demonic. So again, this is the other thing too, defining what demonic means, right? Let's see. Ravi Come Up says, oh, and are some UFOs living entities? Yes, I think some of them are connected telepathically to these beings, which is why some of them change shape while they're hovering and all that. Let me see. Ravi says it was near the ground, then flew up fast. Yep. Let's see. Jeffrey says my name. Oh, sorry, that was the thing there. Blue America says nothing too specific. He made a really post super interesting, but other than that, no worries. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Okay, so Camden says here, a lot of stuff we're finding on electromagnetic fields of everything is just completely counter to everything the counterculture has been saying. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Blue Americas asks, out of curiosity, do you do meditation? Do you subscribe to the idea of having spirit guides / guardians manifesting your reality? I have so many questions, Dave. Sorry about that. No problem. Blue Americas, if you want to talk with me directly, we could do Patreon. We do Zoom calls, things like that, one-on-one, if you ever like. Let's see. So I do meditation? Not always. Sometimes. So I I should make a routine of it. We have on the Patreon a group that actually is committed to doing multiple meditation sessions per week. But myself, do I do meditation? If I get up and I'm not feeling right, whether I'm a little bit tired or whatever, I will do about half an hour, 45 minutes of meditation before getting out of bed. But it's not consistent. Um, Blue Americas also asks, manifesting your reality. I think quantum physics is proving that on a public level. So if something's in my ideology, if something's being proven on a public level, God knows on the secretive level what it can actually do, right? Let's see. Do I subscribe to the idea of having spirit guides slash guardians? Sure, we can call them that, higher selves of consciousness, or maybe it's separate. I don't rule it out. If it helps, I don't see why it would be a bad thing. Um, what's your thoughts on Nikola Tesla? Not sure if you heard about the experiment where he put a vibration machine on a tower and left it there. In conclusion, he said if he left it on there, the tower would have collapsed. Yeah, all that. Yes, yep. Allegedly, he's also from Venus too, which wouldn't surprise me. Um, let me see. Alexis says, Antonio, thanks for dropping that book reference. Yes, Antonio, thank you, by the way. Sub-Zero asks, have you heard of Phil Schneider, the retired underground tunnel contractor, and does he have any credibility? Sub-Zero, brother, go back. I urge you to go back to the last, since November, December videos up until now. I talk about that guy like there's no tomorrow. Doesn't mean I believe everything he says. With that being said, does he have any credibility? Yeah. If you look at his medical history and stuff like that, there are tons and tons of articles and people trying to disprove him. That's usually what happens when someone's telling the truth. But again, it's funny how, mentally unstable certain people become, or mentally unwell when they start telling the truth. But before that, there were no articles trying to defame them, if you will. So again, you look at the timing of that too, quite interesting. The Observer says, as far as the India alien video, I would have to get closer, so makes me think it's fake. Yes, well, exactly, Observer. That's why I said as well, I want to get closer. Based off the mannerisms, I'd say it's real, but again, that's not enough for me to say 100%. At the same time, I know this sounds a bit ridiculous, but when I also talk about on the show them putting things right in front of our faces, I don't mean just in newspapers or media. However, I also don't mean that they make aliens go walking the street. I just think that sometimes in such remote locations of certain countries around the world, you may spot something that seems a little bit non-human, if you will. Ryan Knight, great work. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Charles Anderson says, I have heard a lot of information through other sources that say we and the planet Gaia are cocooning into the fifth dimension and shifting subconsciousness and evolving into the fourth density. Thoughts? I look, I haven't seen anything that would disprove that. At the same time, I haven't seen anything substantial to prove that where I could say, okay, I subscribe to this. However, I don't rule it out. I think that humans are waking up, whether that's deliberate or not, is a different story. But there is a chunk of humanity, in my opinion, that is waking up. Yeah. And that if we're going into the fourth density, yes. Gordon McBain says, good show, just slow down for a breath. Yeah, Gordon, I know. It's just there's so many questions, man. I appreciate it. Milo B Design says, I was referring to Clinton's Epstein EST. It's still going down. Oh, yes. Let me see. Jeffrey asks, what is your opinion on why some people can see some of the lies in this world and some don't? Okay, well, some of them are just closed-minded. Some of it just has to do with mentality. Others, and I can understand it. Like, for example, I have a friend that says to me, Dave, I won't believe in aliens unless it literally lands and there's an alien lands in front of me, a ship lands in front of me and an alien walks off. I have to respect that. I say, yes, no problem. There's some people like that. Now, the people that say aliens cannot exist, again, that's just closed-mindedness. That's, I also think some people are influenced not to believe it, but I mean, Cliff, we love your work. Oh, thank you. Awake Temple. Oh, nice to see that you finally made it. Yes, Jeffrey, you asked, do I think somewhere on this planet they've robocopped people? Oh, yeah. I think that's the least of what they've done. I mean, the bottom of the bottom. Let me see. Little Miss Sunshine says lots of schizophrenia medications being advertised on TV these days. Going back to electromagnetic field discrepancies, polar shift. That's interesting, Little Miss Sunshine. Thank you for that. I didn't even think of that. Again, I don't. Not saying you watch a lot of TV, but I've barely turned on my TV in the past week and a half, so I don't really know. But it would certainly make sense. Okay, let me see. Ariyahu Williams says, Zed, who would win in an outright war, the US or China? If you're talking a straight up ground war, the US, but I'm not confident when I say that. I'm just being honest. Um, Ali Legendary says, have you seen the movie Songbird? It's about COVID-19 mutating to 22 and becoming a deadly brain virus. The movie takes place in 2022. I don't know if I've seen Songbird. I'm not sure. I have to be careful about COVID on here too. Um, Rasansky asks, did you get your COVID vaccine? No. And as of now, I don't plan to. Let's see. Alexis Rodriguez says phones carry Freemason symbols. The Gmail app is basically the Freemason apron. The Google Play app is the seal of Satan. Google Chrome carries 3 6s, and the App Store is a Mason symbol. Interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you, by the way, Alexis. Jeffrey asks, what are your thoughts on black aliens? I have only heard 3 people talk of them. I have heard of one type of Wakanda type race that fought Dracos. I think the color of them doesn't matter. It's more so their origin and things like that. But I know what you mean. The darker looking ones. I don't want to say they're negative just because it has that they give that ominous look to them, assuming the photographs of those are legitimate. With that being said, though, at the same time too, I don't. Again, going back to in history at certain points, it's very difficult to say. Because of how far back it was, right? Omario Shepherd asks, who runs the planet? Aliens who look like humans, but the Dracos mostly, though. Certainly, that's very arguable. There's some that say the Dracos are on their way out. There's not much of them left, and some of them have sided with the Nordics that are sided with the humans. But yes, there are extraterrestrials that look like humans that have a ton of sway, from my understanding, over major world governments. And again, there are allegedly, and this is according to a transcript from 2001, so who knows how much more now, maybe more, maybe not, 57 species that look of extraterrestrial species. All 57 look just like us, and I mean their senses are very heightened intellectually. They're much smarter, things like that. They can process things even faster than our computers can. But they could walk down the street, they could be at a mall, and we wouldn't know, right? And that's what I find interesting, the fact that there's so many different species that look like us. Could some of them have been humans that left this planet many years ago? I certainly wouldn't rule it out. Let me see here. Oh, the chat jumped. Sorry. Hold on. SCP-4357 says, hey, bro, I emailed long time ago about the devil worshipping and the history behind it. Sorry that I haven't gone back to you, man. I get so many emails. It's so hard to keep up sometimes. Sorry, the chat jumped, guys. I am trying to get to all the questions here. Hold on. Let me just, while I'm scrolling, let me answer. Antonio asks, Dave, if the Nachtwaffen, which is the Dark Fleet, if you will, is that the Dark? Yeah, that's what I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a brain fart tonight. It's the Dark Fleet. Yeah, if the Nachtwaffen, oh damn it, were ever to join forces with anyone, who do you think you would be? Oh, that's hard. It depends on it depends on the time and the place of the circumstances politically on a human level. That is what would tell me who's more than likely, will the Chinese or certain elements of the Chinese government, certain elements of the American government, will the American government as a whole side with them, right? Let's see here. Jeffrey asks, were the Ebens from planet Serpo, or was that a different race? No, that's the one. Here's the thing, though. At the time, the Ebens were the first race they made an agreement with. The name and labeling might have changed. Eben stands for extraterrestrial biological entities, right? So it could have changed by then. Okay, sorry, guys. I'm getting to everyone, I promise. Let's see here. Here we go. Mr. Mind Yours, please. I stumbled upon your channel on accident, and I'm so thankful. No, thank you, Mr. Mind Yours. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. If you like the channel, you'll definitely like the what's on the Patreon more, because that's where I can talk about stuff that I can't talk about even close to on here. Little Miss Sunshine says, Dave, maritime law regarding language. Please do a show on that. More than happy to assist. Little Miss Sunshine, if you want to email me, genzpodcast@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to turn that into an episode. I would just need to know more about it personally. And if you could help fill me in, I would really appreciate that. Mr. Mind Yours, please. You open up my receptors to what's going on. I've always been fascinated with the idea of UFOs and extraterrestrial things. Well, great. Glad to have you, Mr. Mind Yours, please. I appreciate you being here. Let's see. Zach asks, what do you think of all these UFO videos being released publicly? It's drop feeding. It's drop feeding. Jeffrey asks, have you seen Zack Snyder's Justice League and Darkseid and Apocalypse and Portal? Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. They had a time loop in the movie. Oh, Army of the Dead. I've seen that too. I don't know if they had a time loop. Did they? Omario Shepherd says Jesus is Ra, the Egyptian god. Interesting. Let's see here. Millowbee Design. YouTube might be the new. I can say the letter, I guess. YouTube might be the new Q. What do you think? Info coming out like crazy. 8 videos a day. Not sure what you're referring to there, Millowbee. Moonshine Girl says, I thought Marduk was Raw. I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know what I'm talking about for that. Glenn at Dog asks, is there anyone who thinks they see something in the sky and then as soon as they turn the focus to it, it disappears from view? Yeah, apparently that's human. That's cloaking devices that they've made specifically to deflect from not just the naked human eye, but also from cell phones and things like that. Let's see. Javier Silva says, what do you think about Obama saying if the aliens come, the people will create a new religion, and how this is connected with Project Bluebeam? I think he's not wrong per se, but I think the timing of the way he says it is quite deliberate. I don't think he chose to say that randomly in that interview. I think there was some guidance there. Do I think Obama as a president knew everything with regards to aliens? No, I don't think he knew nearly as much as Reagan or Eisenhower or any of those guys, not even close. But I think he knew stuff for sure. But let me see. Create a new religion, and this is going to be, yes, that comment about a new religion is interesting because it's more than just a comment. It's now an idea that's been planted into the mass consciousness, assuming enough people see it and read that article, right? I think that's the idea. So it would certainly make for, there's some that propose a new religion, one world order kind of thing, Project Bluebeam, and Obama saying that was the start of it, but we have to see how it plays out. I don't have enough data to say one way or the other which way that might lean, right? Jeffrey asks, do you think some celebrities, sports stars, presidents are clones and robotoids like people claim? Some, not a lot of them, but some. Yeah. If I had to put a percentage on it, 20 to 30% tops, which is quite a bit actually still. But the Observer says, I meditate every day for 25 years now. It keeps me sane. I can definitely believe that. Mayor says, oh, hey, Mayor, what's going on? Have you seen the TV series Project Blue Book? What are your thoughts? I think, brother, that is a form of drop feeding. I have not seen the series all the way through to say, okay, I know the story. I think it's drop feeding to prepare people. But I from what I hear, it's a good series in terms of just if you want to enjoy for entertainment. In terms of accuracy, I think a lot of it is actually accurate and a lot of it isn't. Again, to prepare subconsciously a lot of people. Let's see here. The Observer says Tesla created an earthquake in New York City in 1898. Yes, I believe he did. There were articles on that disappeared as well, too. Drew Phillips says, my dad is from Hungary, and he said that in 1977, when he was 18, a UFO floated low over his village for like 12 hours. Everyone saw it all day long, then it left. I absolutely believe that. Again, Hungary, Bolivia, places like that, those tend to be the countries where they, for some reason, these UFOs tend to stay and hover more. Maybe they've been told, again, to keep it away from the limelight of the Western influence of media, which tends to influence the rest of the world generally. Who knows? Maybe there is something within those particular countries that is of interest. Um, let's see here. The Observer says I would have been in that alien's face, man, talking to him. I guess I'm not sure if you're referring to Antonio or Drew's story, but yeah. Let's see. Jeffrey asks, do you think climate change is a lie and in fact they're terraforming Earth for other entities and not for humans? Have you heard about rock type aliens at the Pentagon using cloaking devices? Jeffrey, brother, you are in the right place, in the right community. I could tell you. My videos address all of this, but I will tell you, do I think climate change is a lie? Yes. And I say that carefully because there's certain elements of that I think are total nonsense. And I think there are certain things that are true. But here's the thing. I really do believe, unless there needs to be some mass terraforming technology, I do believe extraterrestrials in correspondence with humans know how and already are working on ways to, I get, not necessarily repair the earth or maybe maintain it, or I don't know. But yeah, I think that's the case. And have I heard about the rock type aliens at the Pentagon using cloaking? Yes. Apparently this is similar to the Ebens as well too, that President Eisenhower met at Edwards Air Force Base. They could change their genetic structure immediately. Sort of like how it takes us millions of years to grow or lose a finger or a limb or something like this. They could do it like that. Whether that's technology or esotericism or both, one and the same, that's up for debate still. Uh, Drew asks, will aliens reveal themselves on a grand scale, or will elites always get in the way and put their own spin on it? The aliens could be putting their own spin on it too. Don't kid yourself, Drew. But do I think they'll reveal themselves on a grand scale? I ponder this a lot. I really do. I contemplate this a lot. I don't think it's gonna be like they're gonna land in the middle of London or New York or or wherever and say, hey, we're here. It'll be, I don't know. I don't even see it being a press conference, if you will. But if will they reveal themselves on a grand scale? Eventually, yeah, I'd say so. Sub-Zero Radar. Oh, no problem, man. If you check out anything having to do with deep underground military bases like Project Carrot or whatever, those are the ones where I really mention Schneider. Um, Blue Americas. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Come join the Patreon. We do 2 to 3 times a week Zoom calls and also one-on-one if you want to talk to me directly. Let's see. Jeffrey asks, have you heard about the Bigfoot type creature at Montauk called Junior who was created to destroy the base? Yes. And apparently that was legitimate. Now, again, a lot of people won't believe that, but and obviously we shouldn't believe things just because we hear them. But do I rule those type of things out? Not at all. Not at all. Um, let's see here. John Honer says, sorry if I butchered your name, John. What is your opinion on Donald Marshall and droning with Vril? I believe a majority of what Marshall says. Because of certain things I can't really discuss publicly, and because of some people that have showed me some things. Yes, I believe a fair chunk of what Mr. Marshall says. And droning with Vril, 1 trillion %. Little Miss Sunshine asks, "Are you Gen Z on Patreon? I wish to join. Old fart income." I am. I can pin it to the top. But it'll. Yeah, I can pin it to the top. I am patreon.com/Generation Z podcast. But I'll pin it to the top. Let's see here. SCP says. Hold on. I already answered that. Glenn says, I think Dave said it perfectly in a previous episode. The world is set up for the elites to have a system where it is self-maintaining people working to keep the system in place, but not knowing what they are really working towards. Right. That's the general idea. Yes. Hold on. Let me just pin this to the top. Patreon.com/Generation Z. Also, by the way, everyone, just so you know, we got a public episode coming once we end this live stream. Let's see. Jeffrey says, if the RoboCop thing is the lowest, what are the top 3 worst you have heard about? That's very unsettling. Jeffrey, I can't say it without without this live stream being removed in the moment, or without the video being removed after for people that want to play it back. hold on a second. But yes, we can talk more one-on-one if you like. Patreon's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me, but yeah, we can talk more if you like. Let's see. This is hold on, RoboCop. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm just going to pin this to the top there and scroll back up. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'll get to you guys. Mhm. Oh, Awaken the Flame podcast says I think he meant African-looking aliens, not dark, and I think they're called the vegans or the vegans pronounced. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Yes, correct. Yeah. What do I think of them? I think a lot of them are what are called walk-ins, where some of them are from different dimensions, but they have to take a humanoid form, as also shown in a 2001 military transcript. But on top of that as well, too, I also think some of them are here to, I guess we could say, explore. I know that sounds funny, but let's see. Here we go. Oh, thank you, Camden. Thank you, brother. SCP asks, did you see the CNN UFO coverage by PewDiePie? He was denying the whole thing. He said it was the camera lens. PewDiePie is entitled to his opinion. That's the other thing too, that, just because someone's got a lot of subscribers or viewers or they're a celebrity or they got a boatload of money doesn't make their opinion any better than yours. Now, what might make their opinion more valuable than yours is if they have inside knowledge, but I doubt PewDiePie has inside knowledge. The Observer says most people have met aliens and don't even know it. I would agree to that. Yeah. Um, let's see. Antonio, thanks. No problem. What are your thoughts on the Matrix prison planet idea, or is that a psyop in your opinion? If there was a dome over the Earth, how did they get out with Dark Fleet and Solar Warden? Was it portals? Okay, yes. To answer that last part, portals, kind of. But when I say, is there a dome around the Earth, there are energetically fused ones. However, actually, Jeffrey, the public episode coming out after this live stream will address this in even more detail. But it's encompassing a larger vicinity, if you will, of the galaxy, allegedly. It's not so much a as confined as the terms of the words matrix, prison, planet, but it's sort of like, how can I explain it? It's like a soul trap, if you will. They say when you die and you have to go into the light, that light is apparently I guess BS, if you will, because it's artificially or synthetically curated. But it's not necessarily a dome over the Earth in the way you'd think. There are some magnetic fields that are literally like that, but I wouldn't say it's exactly like that. Let's see. Ariyahu Williams says, did the ancient Roman government have connections to aliens considering how powerful they were? Ancient Roman government? I have yet to see any signs of that. I think they had knowledge of it. I think some of them did, but I think the ancient Romans were more leaning towards our mentality now on a mass level, in the sense of defying those things, if you will. Now, I know that, Atlantis was mentioned then and things like that. I mean, look, I don't have the history books in front of me, so please forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I would like to think, the Roman times and things like that was sort of when mankind was phasing to a point where we right now could track the history, and it was a little bit different. If there was evidence of it, we haven't seen it, probably because it's been covered up. Me 5 Ponk asks, was the Heaven's Gate cult actually onto something? Okay, so when cults are onto something, here's the thing about cults, in my opinion. Cults in general, when they're going towards something, or they're focusing on a particular seance or a particular movement or ideology or concept, cults in general could be good or healthy to a certain extent. Do I think they were onto something? Very possible, yes, but they did not have the resources to expand that, particularly with regards to Heaven's Gate. Do I think it's healthy when you take one extreme? And I'm not saying Heaven's Gate, I'm just saying in general. Do I think it's healthy when you take one extreme all the way to the edge? No. But I think that sort of has to do with the composition of the universe. Not to sound corny, but it seems to be like in a lot of things in life, you don't want to overdo stuff, right? Let's see. Remember in the safe scene in Army of the Dead, they show dead bodies of the same people, and the guy said, "What if they are us?" And they had a couple of cyborg zombies in Army of the Dead. Oh, I didn't notice that, Jeffrey. Thanks for pointing that out. I mean, I remember the line, but I don't remember that specifically, like noticing those visuals. Drew asks, do you believe there are objects like swords or jewelry that gave the user special powers? Yes. Any of these objects ever hit the mainstream? In what sense, Drew? What do you mean by mainstream? But when you ask if there are objects like swords or jewelry that gave the user special powers, I think extraterrestrials. Apparently, the Venusians are big into that. It looks like jewelry, but a lot of the times it serves another purpose other than just aesthetics. Um, SCP, okay, I have to be careful with this one, asks, what do you think was the purpose for this virus? Was it controlled since corona means crown in Spanish? Drew, we got to talk privately, my friend. I got to be careful with that on here. I've been shut down for discussing far less than that, still in that area, but like, again, genzpodcast@gmail.com or Patreon, again, much more direct. Let's see here. Let's Talk About says, have you seen the guy that is supposedly alone in 2027? Not sure what you're referring to specifically. Let's talk about, but I'll look into it. I would just need some more detail. Maybe I already know about it, but Ilualio Flores asks, can you I'm not sorry, Elualio. Hopefully I said your name correctly too. I'm not sure what you mean. Joffrey says, when a person is president, do you think they can do what they want? Like if they said go to Area 51, or would security, sorry, Jeffrey, sorry, man. Or do you think it's totally different behind the scenes with threats to them? President is not even close to the top of the top, in my opinion, brother. Like I said, if you check out previous public episodes, but especially the members episodes, it's really going to open your mind to the concept of the way it works. If not, genzpodcast@gmail.com. I might take a bit of time to get back to you, but I'd be more than happy to help explain things to you with regards to the way it's set up. If I were you, I would start looking into shadow governments, if you will. You also have to keep in mind too that the concept of authority is just something that we give meaning to, right? And so the different structures within the government, the government's just a bunch of human beings, right? And so it's literally small groups of human beings hiding the real truth from the rest of them, and the president's not in there. The president's actually a VIP at Area 51, but I think it's something like 37 levels of clearance, and the president's only allowed up to like the 13th or 14th or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. Alexis says, wait, really? Tesla created an earthquake? Gonna go check that out. Also, yeah, no, he did. Yeah. Angel Noel asks, have you seen the picture of the Black Knight? Oh, I've seen lots of them. There's actually some pictures I've been wanting to put up publicly, but I can't because of copyright issues. So I had to just do it on the members, and that's it. But SCP says, someone told me that meditation is a type of obeying an unknown entity, which could be a dark spirit. There's so much to that, SCP, that I don't know. I'm going to be straight with you there. Let's Talk About asks, do you think Project Bluebeam is going to happen? If it does, it's not going to be like one massive invasion. It's going to be small events. Well, smaller relative to the size of larger countries, if you will. I don't think it's going to be like one big thing where you see, some giant hand grabbing the earth and, whatever. Let's see. Little Miss Sunshine. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. Let's see. We got a Zoom call this Sunday if you want to join us, Lisa. Dirty South Paranormal. Hello, how's it going? Moonshine Girl says, has anyone heard of Shane the Ruiner Bales? I feel like I've heard that name, but I don't know for certain. Let's Talk About says about the climate change. I'm thinking they're afraid of the ice melting and revealing bases in aliens' temples. Yes, I think so too. With that being said, though, the question becomes, shouldn't they or wouldn't they have enough technology to be able to cover that up very discreetly instead of having to, disclose aliens publicly? Or maybe they're seeing it as an opportunity for both. It depends. There's so many instances where aliens were about to be revealed, but it didn't end up happening. Sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Truth Revealer says COVID-19 doesn't exist. I'm not saying it does. Let's see. Again, I got to be careful on here about that. Okay, here we are. Let's talk about asks getting the COVID-19 yet? No, I hope I don't think so. Jeffrey asks, does the Illuminati run Solar Warden and Darkfleet, or is that someone else? And do you think they left Earth or can go because they're Illuminati families or they can't? So the Darkfleet is allegedly the set of Germans that did not want to give Hitler some of their last minute, I think it was Wunderwaffe technology, if you will, and they didn't believe in Hitler's global domination. They were working out of Antarctica and they wanted to explore space instead of just take over Earth. And so they refused to tell Hitler about the weapons. And I believe that because again, it's very similar nowadays to the CIA. If the CIA director does not want to brief the president on something, how is the president going to know? I mean, it's very right in front of our face in that way. You don't know what you don't know in life, and it's as simple as that, right? Um, Now, does the Illuminati run Solar Warden? We can argue that they do, or different bloodlines do, but the Dark Fleet is also the Nachtwaffen. They're sort of like a rogue. They're doing their own thing since World War II. They've been doing their own thing. They sort of under their own set of commands, sort of like a rebellion or militia type fleet, if you will, from my understanding of it. It's again, Jeffrey, there's a lot we can talk about on Patreon or on email that'll really jump into that. But even public episodes too, by the way, brother, you can look at those as well. Um, Dirty South Paranormal asks, any good haunted spots near you? Yeah, apparently where I live was once considered witch territory. Let's see here. Let's see. Dirty South Paranormal says, is he saying some people are aliens? Not sure what you're referring to there, brother. The Observer says, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has got one and it stinks. If you think your opinion doesn't stink, well, that depends on who you tell it to. I like that. Uh, NLJ says PewDiePie was only talking about the UFOs don't move as fast as they're portrayed, but he himself believes in the existence of aliens. Ah, okay, okay. But the other thing too, though, is that I mean, even if he says too, they're not as fast as he thought. Yeah, it depends on the footage too, right? It depends on what that craft is doing, what the purpose is. I don't think they come here saying, okay, we're gonna zoom as quickly as we can for these human cameras, you know. Um, but Let's Talk About says, when you going to do some 3 hours long stream? I'm working on it because of what's going on around the world with ordering stuff. It's taking forever. But I have most of the equipment ready to do not even 3 hours. I'm talking like 6 to 8 hour streams, right? Um, let's see here. But I know I'm looking forward to it as well. Timeless Adventurer says, my dad said when he was living somewhere in a rural area of Georgia, a UFO crashed. Sheriff and whoever else showed up. The UFO got placed on a flatbed truck, and and I and left. I tried searching and found nothing. Well, Timeless Adventurer, you're not really going to find anything, and I'll tell you why. The cleanup, and it's called. If you check out our Patreon, we talk about something called the OPNAC personnel, OPNAC, OPNAC. That was a team under Majestic 12 that was responsible for the recovery of this stuff. And some of the tools they use during the recovery and retrieval is extraterrestrial, or at least reverse engineered, but extraterrestrial tech. So I can guarantee you, unfortunately, you're not going to find anything back then, and especially nowadays. Um, Truth Revealer says you got to go to the Black Sun when you die. The very top at the Great Northern Lights is the escape. Raw on the boat. Oh, interesting. Let's Talk About says, have you seen the Eternal Marvel movie trailer? Drop feeding incoming. I haven't, but or no, have I? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I don't rule that out at all, man. Not at all. Um, let's see. Sub-Zero Radar says, I ran into a bunch of SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect videos. Are these just creepy pasta? Secure, Contain, Protect. I got to get back to you on that, my friend. Let's see. The Observer says Heaven's Gate is proof that blind faith will get you killed. I can't argue with that necessarily. Um, Jeffrey asks, I wonder if Excalibur is real and other weapons of Lord. Depends what you mean by Excalibur, Jeffrey. The episode coming out after this live stream addresses that too, actually. Um, Let's Talk About asks, have you seen the Infinite movie trailer? All the movies coming up are drop feeding like crazy. I haven't, but again, Infinite with Mark Wahlberg, I haven't, but again, that's what I'm saying. It's exactly. The drop feeding is rampant. Um, and the dissemination of propaganda too is crazy right now. Sunny Blue 125 says, "Hi Dave, glad I caught you." Oh, thank you, Sunny. Truth Revealer says, "Articillans created us via genetics." I don't rule that out. SCP says there's a guy in TikTok who claims that he time traveled and said the president is going to die soon, and he started talking some weird stuff. Oh, the 2027 guy. If someone's trying to, I mean, look, if you're someone who got caught accidentally in an experiment of some sort or something, or you were a target of an experiment you didn't even know you were a part of, what would you use to try to get the word out? Wherever, if your phone worked, wherever you ended up being, probably social media. But again, there's also people doing stuff for attention. So you know, let's see here. Riel, Dave is a truth. Thanks, man. Bong Radio Record says Yosemite Sam. Oh, cool. The Observer says presidents are temporary positions. You can't tell your deepest secrets to a new person every 4 years. Right. They got term limits, right? To answer the question earlier, I think it was Jeffrey who asked. Presidents are there for maximum 8 years. Guys in the CIA are there for 40, 50, sometimes 60 years. Like those are the guys. You gotta, those guys and the contractors at Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, that's how they keep it secret too, because they understand the government is very leak prone. No matter how compartmentalized it gets, you have to bring some of it into the private sector also because it has other exemptions on the front end of things, meaning, they don't have to file certain taxes. They don't have to report certain things if they file themselves as a particular company overseas, or things like this. All of that kind of stuff. Also look into Battelle Corporation as well. Let's see. Anything that's super vague, that's an institution that's related to the government, does work for the government or what have you. I'm not saying it's alien, but it's pretty high up there in classification. Let's see. The TikTok guy claims to be in 2027 and nobody is around except him. Well, again, like I said, I want to see the footage. I'd be interested to see the footage. That's for sure. Let's see. Zay James says thoughts on generation resets / mud flooding, and do you believe we have repeated recent history timeline wise? Oh yes, I used to be more hesitant about that. The more I'm researching and trying to decipher from the BS, the more I'm finding that there were in fact other civilizations that I would argue were far more advanced than us. But I would argue the same problem was presented to them, which was that the technology was moving too fast for the culture. The technology was moving too quickly for the masses to be able to understand how to appropriately and calmly and reasonably handle it. Just my opinion, though. But let's see. In terms of mud flooding, I think that's interesting. I think mud flooding mixed in with black goo. I think there's a lot of esoteric and nanotech type influence, if you will. The Observer says TikTok guy is full of it. Well, again, this is what I'm saying, right? I haven't even seen the videos, I think. Sorry, guys, the chat jumped. Let's see. Does the military, I'm just going to read some questions as I'm scrolling back up. Does the military have Iron Man suits that fly, or a suit just using anti-gravity, or both in your opinion? Both. For sure, both. Just my opinion. Truth Revealer says Corona Crown. The virus was an attack on your crown chakra, clouding your connection to the God self, having you in the lower self and in fear. Fear is the only thing that makes COVID real. I see what you're saying with regards to, again, the theory in quantum physics as well, is that if mass consciousness emits a certain ideology, it manifests physically in some form or another. Yeah, that's kind of like what they would say is the not necessarily gaining the matrix or the simulation we live in per se, but I know what you're saying. It causes a certain set of events within the matrix we live in to go off. And yes, I don't rule that out at all. Have you seen Invincible, and what are your thoughts on the show? I haven't, Jeffrey. My apologies. Truth Revealer says in 2 years, people will start dying from unknown causes from the vaccine, and they'll blame it on aliens. Interesting. I'd be interested to see if they reveal aliens on a mass level and then they start blaming them for shit. That'd be interesting. And when I say they, I mean like human governments. Let's Talk About says there's a new virus in China and a fungus in India that infected people. Yes, I've been following that closely. SCP says, did you read about the weird things inside the pyramids? If you're a sword, it's going to get sharpened alone. and that there's a void inside, and etc. And scientists say they have around 0.001%, 0.001% of what, like this, of what they've looked into in the pyramids, you mean? Or what are you referring to specifically there, my friend? Um, oh, but weird things inside the pyramids all the time. Yeah. Uh, let's see. Jeffrey asks, would you say the Illuminati families are at war like Game of Thrones, or are they at war with Nazis or the Vatican or the Queen? Different factions. The way I would put it, Jeffrey, is sort of like, I use this example often, different mob families, right? Overall, the goal is the same. There's different interests, different conflicts, different partnerships. It all depends on the time and place. The power structure does shift, I would imagine. Nahum, the Savior 47 says, salute, Nahum. Daniel asks, is time speeding up? I don't, in overall, I'm not sure. There's some things that suggest that. Let's talk about asks, how old are you? Any kids or a wife? I'll let all of you take a guess as to how old I am. Kids or a wife? No. Let's see here. Ariyahu says, Zed, what are your thoughts on Antarctica being a tropical island and how it was connected to South America? If I am correct, and how there was an event that disconnected South America and Antarctica. Let's see. On Antarctica being a tropical island and how it was... If the tectonic plates shifted, and if more than that occurred within that vicinity geographically, I wouldn't rule that out. Look, I think there's a ton of things that change the land structure of this planet, and that's just a small piece of it all. I think that set off a chain of other events too. Let me see here. Oh, for some reason it came back again. No kids, wife, hopefully, but kids, no. Let's see. Awaken the Flame says, have you read the Patreon message I sent you? I sent you a link that makes a lot of interesting connections. This is Brandon. Oh, Brandon, dude, sorry, man. I've been recording all day. I haven't checked my Patreon messages yet, but I will. Ariyahu says, and that would cause Antarctica to become the way it looks today. Interesting. Mayor asks, do you think animals know and understand more than us when it comes to spirituality and our purpose on Earth? Believe it or not, Mayor, I would say that dolphins, not just because of their allegedly telepathic abilities, but apparently, I know this sounds funny, but they act as surveillors, if you will, for extraterrestrials, but only extraterrestrials allegedly within the Galactic Federation. I don't want to say more of where I got that from, because I'll be covering that very, very soon. Jeffrey says, I'm from Connecticut. This state is very old and creepy. Witches, ghosts, etc. We have it all in the Illuminati. I believe it. Yes, Connecticut has yeah. Madden asks, are you familiar with Randy Kramer and his experience in the 20 and Back program? Indeed, I am. Jer A asks, hello, everyone, and how was your day? My day was good. How was yours, Jer? Thank Q says, they are here. Indeed, they are. I would say so. Jeffrey says, my father was a military Freemason, and he drove tanks in the Korean War, and my aunt was a witch and worked at the Pentagon. Well, you see, Jeffrey, precisely, this is what I'm saying. The association between the two should not be conflated. As a matter of fact, it should be treated as one and the same, because I don't think it's a coincidence that these people, that people that subscribe to such movements or followings, if you will, are very government associated. Trying to watch my words, because I know some people. Yeah. Let's see. The Observer says they have never not been here. It's how we got here, possibly. I like the way you're thinking, Observer. Humans made for aliens by aliens. Little Miss Sunshine says bloodlines. Sorry, not sure what you mean by that. Lisa, I think it is, right? Blank space. Have you ever found out who is the person that reported your YouTube channel and gave the strike, and if so, why? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to. Yeah. Some people just don't like to be dicks. But again, there's always two sides to the story, right? So don't just listen to me. Let's see. Gelton says SCP Foundation. Why am I drawing a blank tonight? I'm sorry, guys. Why am I? If you could be more specific, Jelton, please. Jer says, remember how last time we asked you about doppelgangers? Well, anyways, I saw myself this, or double gangers. Sorry, I saw myself this time, same car and clothes, coming back from a graveyard. Whoa. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. Um, Very similar to the sort of glitch in the matrix kind of thing. Not sure if you're familiar with that subreddit. Because again, the concept of the paranormal and science seems to be very intertwined, even though the public academia won't admit to it. Nathan asks, why so dark? You mean here in the room? It's I don't know. Let's see. Omario Shepherd, do you like the movie 20 and Back? Or like yes, yeah, yes. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting question. Hunter Thompson says, why do you think some of the alien races who would be considered to be benevolent, allow us all to be kept in the dark and being deprived of knowledge about how things really are? Because it's not their place to tell us. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. So, for example, it's like if we as humans were observing another alien species that was way behind us, we would watch them, but probably in an invisible way, because we want them, literally and metaphorically, because we want them to evolve on their own. There's certain things that we can tell them that they wouldn't understand unless they went through it. And it's unfortunate, it's good and bad, but it's true. I would say it's the same concept here. I really appreciate that question. I don't think people ask that question enough. Not to me, but I'm saying in general. Let's take a look here. The Observer asks, why would social media in 2027 connect to social media in 2021? I would have to look into that, Observer, to get back to you, unless you're just asking that question generally. Let's see. Jay asks, have you seen the Netflix series Love, Death, and Robots? Jay, unfortunately, I have not. However, I'm sure it's a form of drop feeding. That's what I would assume you're getting at. Jeffrey said, they said he is deleting the people in his videos with special effects, so be careful what you believe on the internet. Sorry, Jeffrey, not sure what you're referring to. My memory's a little messed up today, guys. Sorry. I did a bunch of recordings. Let's see. Hunter said, good thing if they tell Biden anything, he will forget 10 minutes later, so they don't have to worry. Yeah, there's all kinds of jokes like that. The Observer says, I want the guy in 2027 to go to my address and get me a pic of my house without me in it. Well, I mean, look, you want the ultimate proof, you reach out to the guy if you can, assuming, and you say, take a picture of this particular location or what have you, and tell him to have his geolocation on. So that's the best we could see if he's BSing or not. That's what I mean. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but let's see here. Jeffrey asks, have you ever seen the TV show Farscape? No, but I've heard of it. The WMLG says, have you realized the spike in mainstream media and reputable people starting to take UFOs seriously? Nearly a century of mockery, and only now it's a concern. What could the agenda be? I find it weird. Well, WMLG, I appreciate the question, and I'll tell you why. Because and again, this is thanks to my friend Riel, in General Philip Corso's book, again, one of the guys that knew a lot of things and was at the Roswell retrieval crash, and again, was brought into the shadow government, if you will, that we were talking about earlier, Jeffrey. I don't think it was Philip Corso himself, but a fellow military soldier who was just as familiar with the alien stuff as Philip Corso had said. The disclosure will be the cover-up, and the cover-up will be the disclosure. And I find it interesting because when you really think about that, if you look at people, for example, like Rumors of Instinct, who I've had on the show as well too, if you look at those kind of people, he said the same thing in the sense that disclosure is there for people who look. Right now, again, that's up for debate in terms of how that could be perceived and defined. But I do think I agree with you, WMLG, with what you're saying there. Thank you. Oh, damn it. It jumped. Hold on. I'm getting there. Mayor asks, I'm just going to read questions as I scroll up. Mayor asks, do you think humanity deserves to be kept in a high state of control in order for us not to behave like complete violent savages? in a high state of control. In a lot of ways, I would say so. And we can argue now there's supposed to be control, and we're still fighting with each other, right? So, let's see here. Hold on, guys. Here we are. Thank Q says a UFO went down in Louisiana in the 1950s and there's nothing public on it. Yes, actually, interesting thing. Not necessarily UFO related, but it's in the New York Times archives from I think the 1880s or 1890s, something the late 1800s, about how in the U.S. I forgot which state, so don't quote me on this. They found human bones from an archaeological dig, but the bones were 3 to 5 times larger than that of the regular humans. So I mean, or at least humans that we know of now. And it's still in the New York Times archives. So again, just to add to what Thank Q just said right there about how, certain things come up and then disappear. Same thing with Elon Musk's boring underground tunnel machine. It's still there, but it's not in your face there. Let's see. Dame D4M6N asks, how watered down of a report do you think the U.S. is going to give out? Well, if you go back to the beginning of this episode, my friend, but I don't want you to cut out from the live side of it. I think that again, it's going to be underwhelming. They're already hinting at the fact in the media that they're going to dilly dally with their words, and it's not going to be anything I expected. I had one hope. This is just my personal hope, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. But I had a hope, like many of you probably did, which was that the report may have stated that some of these craft are seen from coming underground. Now, again, that is what I had hoped that former DNI director John Radcliffe had hinted at when he had said we wanted to release this report when Trump was in office, but there were a lot of things we found difficult to explain. So again, I had hoped for that, but my expectations were not high whatsoever, unless there's a total shock. But I don't think that'll be the case, to be honest with you. Let's see. Also, does anyone else? Oh, sorry. Hold on. Jeffrey says, what are your thoughts on the Marvel movies like Captain Marvel and Captain America? Do you think they're dropping some truth? Yes, because those movies are bound to be seen, and that's why they'll throw it in there. What are your thoughts on Green Lantern Corps in the comics? Oh, I think very similar to the way the Galactic Federation works. There are different aliens designated to different quadrants of the universe to oversee. Allegedly, in this universe, it is the Venusians. Let's see here. That used to live on Venus, but went through a bunch of worse shit than we did as humans. Planet became uninhabitable. Now they live on ships around Venus. Let's see here. And if you look at NASA's recent articles, again, sorry, it'll be out. The episode will be out after this live stream. I touch on that too. Jeffrey, you're asking me stuff that I touch on in the upcoming episode tonight. So, let's see. Also, D4M6N asks, does anyone else but me remember the UFO disc that was blocking the Denver airport that was reported by the pilots and the news only to disappear the next day? It was 2 years ago. Yep. I think that an extraterrestrial or a human was trying to get into the airport because apparently there's a massive underground network and secret base under there, right? As they kind of put it in front of your face at the airport itself, if you've seen some of the pictures. But I think they were trying to get in. They either uncloaked themselves by accident, had no control of the cloaking, or I'm not even kidding, it was aliens from another planet or galaxy trying to get in there, sort of like for the first time, if you will. And I'm not kidding. They just didn't know whether to cloak or not. I know that sounds funny, but there have been whistleblowers that have spoke on this. They have their own little highways and hidden passages to go through, very similar to how in the Marvel movies the Black Panther Island is invisible. Looks like just a mountain, you fly right through it and boom, you're there, right? But you would need certain energy fields around you to even get in there. It's very advanced stuff. Let's see here. Bong Radio Record says overcoming fear is great too. Yep. Let's see. Oh, SCP says, sorry for being unclear. I mean that if you put a dull sword in the pyramid, it will get sharpened, and the scientists know about 0.001% of the secrets of the pyramid. Well, I would say SCP, yes. In terms of the dull sword, I've heard of that. Again, I don't have anything on my own to substantiate such claims. With that being said, too, though, the scientists publicly knowing about I agree. Yep. You also said it. So if someone focuses his chakra on something, he can make it happen, or etc. Yeah, I mean, again, we can go into the pyramids, but that's in terms of the public academia and understanding of the pyramids, they don't pardon my English, they don't know jack shit compared to what's really going on. I mean, there's pyramids in Area 51, so clearly there's a purpose. It's not just for fancy looks, but actually there's more than one pyramid at Area 51. Let's see. Jeffrey asks, what are your thoughts on Men in Black? Are they real? And if so, are they aliens or humans or dead zombies? Some are aliens, some are a mix of humans and aliens, brother. Again, the Patreon, the public episodes of even the last 2 months will cover all the questions you're asking, brother. I really do enjoy answering them, by the way. I'm not trying to say like screw off or whatever, but just so you know, if you want even more detail, the episodes are there. Let's see here. Sub-Zero Raider says, do you think DMT and other psychedelics let you temporarily see another dimension or plane of reality, or is it just a hallucination? I would like to. I've done shrooms, I think twice in my life in total. And the first time was like a few weeks ago, not even kidding. But in terms of overall psychedelics and all that, I think they access other parts of this universe, but I have no proof of that. Just my opinion. However, I don't rule out the possibility it's just a straight up hallucination as well. So let's see here. Jeffrey asks, have you heard the story about the CIA using real zombies in South America? Excuse me. I'm not sure, Jeffrey. If you could be a little more specific. Koyos Ronan says, much love. Oh, thanks, man. Much love to you too. Moonshine Girl says, have you heard of Kim Go-Juen? I feel like I've heard that. I read that name in the past week. Again, I sift through so much information when I'm researching. Sometimes I'll leave a tab open and then I'll sift through it, but not, precisely or specifically. Okay, this is interesting as well. Hunter says, I think New Zealand, by the way, before we go on, I want to say New Zealand allegedly outputs more energy than it takes in. So that's already fishy, right? If you, Hunter, if you're on the Patreon too, you'll see that we've discussed that. But Hunter Thompson says, I think New Zealand has a lot more going on there in secret. Would explain their strange secretive relationship with the US. Also, the location of it is excellent for that kind of thing. Absolutely. Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Israel, the US, and Canada. Those countries are like this. Not always, but yes. And again, it's a great way because it's off of American soil. So projects could be run there in correspondence with the New Zealand or Australian government. Experiments could happen much more loosely and freely, if you will, because of all the land, right? Let's see. Little Miss Sunshine says, say the word cult and observe the looks. Say culture and people get dreamy-eyed. Really? I didn't know that. Let's see. D4M6N says, my coworker's uncle used dark magic to speak to a demon, but it was actually a glowing blue orb like the one seen at Skinwalker Ranch. Feel some aliens like messing with us for fun. Honestly, yeah, I know that sounds stupid and funny-ish, but yeah, I think they do. Some of them, I guess you could say, are provocative or provocateurs, if you will. Let's see here. Koyos asks, did you ever hear about the several LA reports of a man flying in a jetpack reported by the pilots themselves? Yes. Oh, yeah. I think that was it could have been using extraterrestrial technology. I think that was, I think it was a military experiment. I don't see why aliens would come here to test out suits that would fit their own body structures, Let's see. Thank Q says, wow, creepy. Not sure what you're referring to, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is. Hold on, guys. Throat's getting a little dry. Okay. Yummy Chip says, the show Invincible seems to drop feed some info about the government and secret tech. My favorite part was the reference of something added to water, fluoride, that stops the public from seeing cloaked technology. That's really interesting. Jer says, well, I saw myself going into it. I went to visit my friend, and on my way back, coming down a lonely road, I was like, that's funny, same car. And as we got closer, it hit me like, oh, that's me. Huh. Again, yeah, I don't rule out those type of things. D4M6N says, I think there's rules like on Star Trek, like aliens can't speak to other races until they've evolved more. Right. I think this has to, yes. Not that they can't, they won't. There's a sort of a universal rule, if you will. I'm sure some have broken that rule. Don't kid yourself, right? Case in point, to let arguably what's going on here. So But that could be up for debate too. Mary Dragon 3 says free will cannot tell too much of what we need to realize ourselves. Interesting. Seriously, very interesting, Mary Dragon. Thank you. She says that's why benign aliens cannot tell all. Yes, right. Jeffrey says, are the stories of Dulce and the Nightmare Hall real, or Dulce as it's called? And do you think George Romero's zombie movie was really based on truth like many people claim? Some people claim that incident happened in the 60s. Well, here's what's interesting. They have technology that can erase people's memories permanently. So if there was ever some type of outbreak within a vicinity geographically where they could cover it up, I'm pretty sure they've done it and no one would know because the people who saw it forgot it, right? Do I think Nightmare Hall and Dulce, the Dulce base and all that are real? Oh, hell yeah. I mean, they won't let you, yes, yeah. Sorry, I was about to rant like crazy, but I'm not going to, my throat's too sore. Let's see. Kenny Crypto asks, do you think some of the craft run off frequencies or like chance? I think a certain part of them, certain aspects of them do, but not all of them. I think, as a matter of fact, I can almost say with very strong confidence, there are different propulsion systems depending on the species, depending on the purpose, depending on the mission and the goal. Let's see here. And there's also different modes within those propulsion systems, if you will. Let's see. Little Miss Sunshine says, I've been in the pyramids and have photos. We will discuss. I was with DODEA/Pentagon almost 2 decades overseas. I have lots to share. My purpose this life is to serve you younger ones. Little Miss Sunshine, were you actually DOD or Pentagon? Either way, yeah, let's chat. Either way. Jeffrey says, oh, the 2027 guy, he said he is using special effects deleting people in the videos. My fault for not explaining it enough. Oh, I see. I'm gonna look into it, brother. I don't want to comment on something I don't know. I'm gonna look into it. Let's see here. Oh, the chat jumped, but that's okay. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. D4M6N says, dude, thank you. I thought I was going crazy and was the only one who remembered that Denver incident. No, I remember it. Don't worry, I remember it. Hold on. Here we go. The Observer says, we assume aliens care about us. I think it's the planet they care about the most. They could care less what we do to each other. Yeah, I'd agree. Very strongly, actually. Hunter says, going back to what I asked earlier about us being kept in the dark, maybe they attempted to enlighten the Egyptians last time it didn't go to plan. I mean, about being kept in the dark by benevolence. Yes, yes, I would say very confidently that over previous civilizations that have arguably been reset, there's been massive extraterrestrial influence over time. Let's see here. Absolutely, and those are also the questions I ponder very often too. SCP says, so they sexualize everything so they can harvest it, or how does it go? Depending on the species. Yes, that sometimes they will. Again, sex is one of the easiest ways to extract a lot of different things, whether it's liquid chemicals, whether it's a certain thought-provoking pattern in the mind. I'm not even kidding. That's arguably been proven scientifically, well, at least has shown evidence to be proven, excuse me. The many seduction, even for aliens, experimentation, you name it. Omario Shepard says, funny enough, I had dreams talking element 115, but I can't remember the face of the being or entity I was talking to. I guess some connection with aliens, maybe. It's possible, like, people who have gone into certain places that were allegedly haunted have seen claim to have seen spirits of gray aliens of all things, right? So to say that the two are separate, I wouldn't say so whatsoever. Glenn says, when you think about it, the movie Interstellar is a large source of drop feeding. They just left out the giant part. Oh, of course. Interstellar came out 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was still, I would say, too early for society. Something happened in the last 5 years where people just really woke the hell up. Let's see. Or maybe a handful of events caused it, but let's see. Jay says, I just finished Amazon's show Utopia, really eerie on how the show plays out, very similar to what's been going on with the illness 19. Right, right. Again, um, Sub-Zero Raider says Javier 2027 should start a massive fire and post that if he is really alone in an alternate future dimension but can still communicate with us. Right. Like again, it's stuff like that. If yeah. Uh Jer asks, have you heard of the Book of Demons? Supposedly, if you read it, something gets attached to you. So while you learn about them, they learn about you. Do you think it holds any truth? If I believe in yeah, I believe in to a large extent certain forms of energy, and not so much the words themselves, but the energy given to those words. If it's happened over many thousands of years and it's been allegedly haunted or something like this, it could be attributed to negatively oriented electromagnetic fields, if you will. Now again, the simple answer, yeah, I believe it. I don't know about that particular book, but yes. Let's see. Jeffrey asks, do you think people in Inner Earth are using UFOs also? And would they be different than beings from aliens in space? No. Uh, do I think they're using UFOs? Yes. Admiral Byrd's journal talked about if there's going to be a third war, we have to watch the poles. He said advanced craft will come from the poles. Um, would they be different than beings from aliens in space? Not necessarily. I think that they are corresponding, some of them, with aliens in space, as a matter of fact, in my humble opinion, at least. Let's see. D4M6N talking about the Denver blocked the flights for about 4 hours. Yeah, see, like when it's small stuff like that, or they shut down the airport for a handful of hours, they try to just move on like nothing happened, especially when it's a UFO thing. Um, yeah, Sinfinity, glad to see you remember it too. The Denver incident. The Observer says, I met a guy who was at the airport in Denver that day and saw the UFO. So you see D4M6N, brother, or woman or girl, you see you're not the only one. See, a lot of us do. And again, met a guy who was at the airport that day. Little Miss Sunshine says about the alien beings and allowing them to self-realize. Yeah, like we should probably do with our kids. I never baby talked as a mother. I spoke. Ah, right, right. It's this right. Like it's the same concept of parenting and things like that, right? Um, you talk to them like they're adults and they learn quicker, if you will. Let's see. Blank space says, oh, sorry. Not sure what you're sorry for, blank space, but no worries. Jeffrey says, in your opinion, what are archons? Are they like vampires? Oh, Jeffrey, brother, we got people on the Patreon that would love to tell you about the archons. And is black goo like venom and carnage? Yeah, it sort of. Also, real vampires exist in New Orleans and Portland, Oregon. I believe that. I believe, again, dude, there's a lot of things you're mentioning here that will be out in the episode once this stream is over. Let's see here. Little Miss Sunshine, I spoke to the best of my ability. My son read at college level at grade 4. Right, because you see, when you do, I mean, presumably, I personally have not had kids, but when you do that, that's the same concept. Why would it be any different with extraterrestrials or us when they speak to us? I mean, D4M6N says I was expecting photos when they reported it, only to never hear from it the next day. Right. Yep. Again, quick, 3-4 hours. Oh, I didn't see nothing. Nobody saw anything. Simple. Koyos Ronan says thoughts on the Bosnian pyramid. Yes, I got lots of thoughts on that, but I can't talk about that publicly, unfortunately. GenZpodcast at gmail.com or Patreon, my friend. I think it plays a significant role. Yes. Sinfinity asks, have you heard of the Terry Lovelace abduction in 77 in Arkansas? Yes, but I never really delved into the story extensively, to tell you the truth. Let's see. Hold on. Little Miss Sunshine, please make sure, young ones, to make sure your kids hear at least 8 foreign languages by 8-7. That will give them a leg up. Baby Einstein videos. Oh my gosh, if I knew 8 languages by the time I was 7, holy crap. Jer says, have you heard of Bob Gimlan? He makes a lot of Bigfoot content, but he gets into good detail and comes from a scientific point of view. Honestly, it's good. Maybe you can check it out. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Bob Gimlan. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Jeffrey says there was a story about the CIA being in South America, and I believe they were trying to scare a military or village, and they basically made a zombie/robot with a medicine in it. Oh, again, see, this is the thing. This is what I'm talking about. Those types of things are tested in the Middle East, in Africa, places where the mainstream media can still to this day curate and select what to report on, right? And I don't rule that out at all. Let's see. Wavy Days. Oh, this is interesting. Says, I think it's funny how people think the world is getting worse or darker when in reality the veil is being lifted and it's scaring people. Right. Very good point. Um, Jeffrey says, and it's crazy because in Invincible they use dead reincarnated soldiers to try and kill a Superman character, Omni-Man. Right. Oh, the chat jumped. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Arrow says, damn, I'm always missing the lives. Oh, it's all good, brother. It's all good. I saw on the web they said movies like Aliens, The Predator, and Alien actually look like that. Is this true in your opinion? Are there some Predator-looking aliens? I wouldn't rule it out because based on how many different species there are allegedly hundreds of different species just within our vicinity, meaning our solar system's vicinity, relatively close to it. I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's a half decent form of drop feeding. I think it started as purely entertainment and then led into drop feeding. I think some of what goes on there, particularly within the Prometheus films, are much more oriented to drop feeding. But yes, overall my answer is yes. Let's see here. Truth or Theory. Hey, what's going on? Sorry I'm late. Where's the beer? Dave Zed is my here. Hey, Truth or Theory, guys, you got to check out their podcast, Truth or Theory. Great guys. Jeffrey asks, this is a crazy question, but is it possible for a Superman type being to be on planet Earth right now? And are there some beings with powers like that to your knowledge of different races? Not particularly like Superman, but a very watered down version, yes. And I can't really talk on that too much publicly because of, anyways. Hunter says, thought I was having glitches with your Patreon, Dave, but remembered I got, okay. Cool, Hunter, no problem at all, my friend. Thank you again. Let's talk about says, what do you think is the end goal of all of this? Our world, our species, our connections with the universe, our purpose as a whole. Oof. Let's talk about, if you want to email me, genzedpodcast@gmail.com. That's a long one, and yeah, that's quite the answer for me to give. The end goal, there is no end. It's cyclical per se. Apparently, the film Arrival, by the way, with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, is with regards to how they view time and language and things like that, is very accurate and is a form of very, very descriptive drop feeding. Let's talk about, if you watch the movie Arrival, allegedly that's the way they view time in a lot of ways, and their way their language is written. And it kind of makes sense too. If you look at some of the symbols that we've looked at that are allegedly real, I mean, it would match up. And also from what I've read from whistleblowers and from what we've read from whistleblowers, their language is context based. It's contextual. It's not straight up meaning based. Like, okay, A means this, B is that, and you have to put them all together depending on what you want to formulate. Let's see here. Hold on. Ori Love Anime. Hello. Hey, how's it going? Sub-Zero Raider asks, do you have any info on the Great Filter, and have we on Earth passed it already? Oh, yes. I think secretly, as humans, we've passed it. Big time. Many times over, too, if you count how many times humanity's allegedly been reset. Ariahu Williams asks, Zed, thoughts on SSSS technology? Could you be a little more descriptive, my friend? I'm sorry. Maybe it's me. I don't know what you're referring to there. Wolf on a Hunt asks, could AI and aliens be somehow correlated with each other? Absolutely. Again, we have to define AI. The perception must broaden on that. It's not just what we think it is, just computer code or whatever, generating a program to think for itself. Much more than that. Let's see. Rojiman Igor, I'm sorry, my friend, but I don't speak Brazilian. My apologies. I'm very sorry. I just saw what seemed to be Spanish oriented, and then I saw Brazil, I assume. I'm very sorry. Jeffrey asks, I've looked up different archangels and angels, and I've noticed their last names are all L, just like Kal-El Superman. Well, again, the drop feeding could be there too, yeah. D4M6N, La says hi. So D4M6N says, I've once had a dream in which I realized I was dreaming. The second I did, everyone in my dream stopped and looked directly at me. Next thing I knew, I was awake after what felt like hours later. And Lala says, I've had that, but thought everyone else in the dream was connected to mine also dreaming. Yeah, apparently that's where Inception is sort of a drop feeder, if you will, with regards to lucid dreaming more than anything else. The Inception movie. Your subconscious notices that it's now self-aware. Therefore, it's projecting that self-awareness towards, again, yourself. So let's see here. The Observer says compulsory ordered vaccine initiate domination. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah. Hunter says, Dave, have you heard of those tunnels that are connected underneath the earth all over and can get you wherever in like 10 minutes? Yes. Oh, that's not the deep underground military bases. That is the sub-global Terranian network. There's a big difference. But the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases, ultimately connect to those in a lot of cases. Not all, but a lot. Yes. I mean, you want something else that'll blow your mind too. Imagine being in a certain part of the planet within the Earth that's larger on the inside than when you went in on the outside. That's you want to talk about advanced stuff. Let's see. Lala says interdimensional aliens could be powerful, like how we depicted angels and demons. Right. ET asks, do you see a zombie outbreak happening within the next decade? I hope not, but I don't rule that stuff out, man. Here and There says, I'm an alien. If you are, let's talk. And I'm serious. Wavy Days says yes. Okay, SCP asks, oh, hold on a second. Hold on. SCP asks, how can someone activate supernatural abilities? And when I was small, I dreamed about a past life I had, and I can't remember, or it's a deleted memory. Supernatural, it's tough. It depends which route you want to take. There's many different routes, if you will, or avenues to take. GenZpodcast@gmail.com if you want to email me about that. Deleted memory, yeah, that would make sense. Let's see. Marty McClevin says, you should do an investigation on chuds, cannibalistic humanoids, underground dwellers. Interesting. I will actually. I'm gonna, yeah. Hold on a second. Just give me a sec, and I'm gonna note that down very quickly. There we go. Let's see. Have you ever seen the first Hellboy? In the beginning, they show Nazis opening up a portal trying to bring in a Thulu or Chulu type creature from another dimension in Hellboy. Yes, yeah. Again, all those types of drop feeding. But that's another thing too. People will say, what do you mean? I just saw that in a movie. That's ridiculous, right? Let's see. Little Miss Sunshine says, yes, sir. I was DODA/Pentagon/Department of State. My first duty station was Bahrain, 1998 to 2001, and then Germany. Little Miss Sunshine, I would love to have a conversation with you. Seriously. For not just for extraterrestrial, but many different things. Oh, hold on. Lala asks, do you believe the super soldier thing is the false return or arrival of a messiah? Not necessarily arrival of a messiah, probably using that to scare people more, I would say. Mr. Gunnut says, well, I had no idea about the fleet. Yes. Evan says you should make Proton instead of using Gmail. Yes, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Gary asks, no question is off topic, Gary. Let me see. Do you have any theories on sleep paralysis? I haven't looked into it enough. I think there are others in the community on Patreon and other places that actually have much more of an understanding of an energetic and esoteric aspect of that, or scientific aspect. But I don't know particularly. And because again, I don't want to answer stuff when I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, or at least don't have an idea, right? So I apologize for that. Hunter's, but keep in mind, there's no such thing as off-topic questions. Hunter asks or says, the most rub it in your face and take the absolute P as with you. Drop feed hands down in Star Wars by far. LMAO. Yeah. Rourke asks, thoughts on humans being chimeras or apes and pigs, or chimeras of apes and pigs. I don't rule anything out. Wolf on a Hunt asks your opinions on Neuralink. It's just a very small form of drop feeding telepathic capabilities. in my opinion. I'm not trying to downplay the work that look, I'm not trying to downplay the work that's being done on a public level in any case technologically, right? If the government has drop fed little bits of technology and given it to the public, to people that really do innovation relative to what they know, I have great respect for those people. But I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, it's nothing, because I couldn't make half that shit myself. But to say that that's everything they have and that's the most advanced, no, not even close, in my humble opinion. Let's see. Mary Dragon says, be careful with names that hold L or EL. Most are negative or deception, only a few positive. Oh, Eros, thank you. Said, say hello to your fans in Brazil. Hello to my fans in Brazil. Sorry for such a delay on that. Ariahu says, SSS technology, silent sound spread spectrum. I am going to note that down quickly because I have heard about it and I thought it was nonsense. But now that someone else brought it up, I will reopen my perspective to that. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Let's see. Eros asks, bro, do you think the Milky Way already enters the dark zone part of the universe? I don't think so, but I don't think so. Oh, maybe. Now that I think about it, maybe. Um, Jeffrey asks, do you know that, guys, I'm going to have to end this in the next couple minutes. I got some things to do for the show and my throat's getting pretty dry, as you might be able to hear. Jeffrey asks, do you know the name of the Thundercat lion type beings? And do you think the cartoon Thundercats was drop feeding? I think it's all drop, not all. I think a lot of it's drop fed. Yeah. Do I know the name? Not off the top of my head. Let's see. Wavy says, I did LSD for the first time 2 years ago and my spirit went straight up into the North Star. I ended up leaving my body for a couple seconds and back in. Ever since then, I've been remembering who I am. Very interesting. Very interesting. Everyone, I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all your questions. But please, if you want, email me genzpodcast@gmail.com if you really want to ask the question. If not, we'll do another live stream soon if you want to ask it then. Let's talk about when you're going to be ready for a 3 to 6 hour live stream, hopefully in the next couple weeks. Hopefully. Thank you so much, everybody, and please be safe, and we will talk soon. Take care, everyone.